Hello there, everyone. How you doing today? I hope you're all well. Today we're going into r/AskReddit, where Reddit asks the question, what is the most fricked up thing you've seen at work? And the Redditors, they have provided our answers. Now let's read them. If you enjoy, like and subscribe, leave a comment in the description below or a story. And let's get started. I was sorting all the psych patients that were hospitalized to my state and got to this guy, a teenager or maybe a bit older, and he got sent to the ward because he suddenly got aggressive and started to have some episodes that he squirmed in pain, took off his clothes and things like that. Before being hospitalized, he was complaining about these things. But nothing the medics did was working, and nothing wrong was found. So it should be a psychiatric issue, no? Wrong. He was put in the ward for 2 or so years, and lost a lot of his life, being considered insane, because he developed a rare spinal cancer that was hard to detect, and caused him extreme pain. It's really screwed up. I don't remember what happened to him afterwards, but I'm not really optimistic that it had a happy ending. Medical gaslighting is ridiculously common and destroys so many lives. Mostly people who just give up on getting help for the illnesses, though. I worked at one of the busiest Walmarts in the country during spring break for 6 years. I wouldn't even know where to begin. I guess the drunk lady leaving the bathroom with her pants around her ankles while actively shitting as she walked across the front of the building and back outside into the wild. None of the workers wanted to deal with it, so they parked a shopping cart over each turd until the cleaning crew came in. Why did somebody shit in the store? What the fuck? I once saw someone step into a bucket of hot fryer oil. It got into their shoes and everything. It was so bad when they took off their shoes, it peeled off skin with it. The person had second and I believe third-degree burns. He never came back, but I saw the pictures and it was horrific. I saw this happen to a guy wearing heat-protected glove. Worked in a kitchen. For whatever reason, he wasn't wearing the latex glove you're supposed to wear on the outside. The guy dropped something into a boiler on accident and went to grab it quickly. I guess thinking he could grab it before it went in the water. Instead, his hand went into the water, and the glove held boiling water on it. When he pulled the glove off, all the outer layer of skin came off too. I worked at a call center. I was in the break area on the second floor and heard a guy getting into an argument with his soon-to-be ex-wife. I walked away and back into my call area, and about 30 seconds later, the whole call center went into lockdown. Found out the guy decided to off himself and jump headfirst into the concrete floor and landed right in front of my coworker. He was granted unlimited paid days off and paid therapy for the rest of the year. HR, we know you usually can't afford therapy, but for once you'll be able to pursue it. Take any number of days and just talk it out. Please don't sue us. I saw a coworker get crushed to death under 6 tons of dirt. I helped dig his body out. God, thanks for reminding me of my construction days when I was 18. We were cutting out a trench for something. I'm thinking it was a water line of some sort and was fairly deep. It was just a muddy mess, and after about 5 days straight of rain, everything was waterlogged. We had just started the workday when we heard a ton of yelling further down the trench. Turns out the shoring was preventing the trench from collapsing, had given out and buried a man up to his shoulders. Luckily, he survived, but he wasn't in a great state. He had broken most of his ribs and both of his legs from the weight of the ground hitting him. The worst part was that while we were digging him out, just how Senri he was, the guy had fully accepted that he was going to die. A guy cut his finger in the deli slicer and tried to keep cutting lunch meat for a customer with blood going everywhere. Ouch! I was working at a butcher shop and one of the butchers politely came up to me and whispered that I needed to finish deboning a lamb shoulder for a customer. Apparently she accidentally stabbed herself and needed to patch up her tummy. Luckily it wasn't deep, but not a great thing to hear nonetheless. I saw a guy fall 40 floors onto a large pile of cast iron piping as I was walking off for lunch. I didn't end up eating lunch after that. Well, if you're not gonna eat it, mind sharing with me? I am quite hungry. Nom nom nom. A coworker ended up ODing, and no one in his family told his dad. The only reason his dad found out his son died was because the dad called the company to see if his son still worked there. My boss had to be the one to tell him the bad news because no one in the guy's family was willing to tell him. My God. First you tell the family, and that's the worst thing you've ever had to do. Then a few weeks go by and you're feeling better, and then some guy calls and say, "Hey, does Odie work there? My son Odie? This is his dad. Needed to get in touch with him to go over some things, but his phone isn't working. Do you know him? Looks just like his old man, rugged and handsome." Anyway, is he in? I just couldn't do that. Jesus Christ. I had a cute 20-year-old who overdosed and was progressing rapidly to brain death. I called her mom.
"What do you mean, I see you? I just dropped her off at church camp a few days ago."
It turns out she was a counselor at the camp. She had also been sober for a year, but relapsed on the 1-year anniversary of her best friend's death from an overdose. Nice family and all. Description's a nice kid. It sucked being the one to unexpectedly break the news to her mom. At least she became an organ donor. Before we continue, I would urge you to check out my Twitch channel at twitch.tv/Count Julius. I play Warframe. I read stories there live. Maybe I'll play some roguelike games. Maybe you can leave a subscription to help me get some groceries. Who knows? Anyway, back to the video before you all click off. Airline pilot. Watched a guy die in the Nashville terminal once, gate C10. He keeled over in his chair waiting for boarding. EMS was there almost immediately. They did CPR on him for a good 15 minutes, way past when everyone knew he had passed. The part that's haunting was watching it click for his wife that he was indeed gone. Her reaction, I'll never forget that. It's November, right before Christmas 2011, and the CEO told me, the CTO, to fire a guy so we can make our bonuses for the year. I replied, his wife is dying of cancer, and has 2 months at most to live, and he has kids. Just fire me and you'll make your bonus. Without so much as a blink, he said, "Well, what would you do?" I said, "I can defer some equipment purchases to the next year, and that will cover the 30K-ish you're looking for." He said, "Great, go do that." He literally didn't care about another human being who was at the lowest of their lows. I'll never forget that. And fuck you, Rich. I worked at a Nissan dealership where most salespeople were slimy pieces of poo. One senior citizen with a veteran ball cap was working on a deal for a car for his grandkid. Nice old guy got tired and fell asleep in the chair waiting for the sales guy to work out the deal with the sales manager. One of the managers from the bullpen walks by and farts into the sleeping old man's face, then runs back to the bullpen where everyone was watching and laughing. It was disgusting. I told the sales guy, who I knew was an Iraq vet. He went to the bullpen and screamed in the face of every single one of those frickers. He screamed so much at them, I thought he was going to pass out. God damn it. Why do people suck? Why can't we all be good people? Why? Anyway, on to the next story. I used to work with special needs kids, ages 3 to 7, and one of them came up to me on a Monday morning and told me her dad died over the weekend, and then skipped off to go play with the rest of the group. I learned later that day he had overdosed on heroin, and I'm assuming she hadn't fully understood what being dead meant, and that she thought she might see him again. Oh, no. I worked with a guy at a retail store. He came in one day with one red eye and the other normal, so I asked if he was okay. He said yes and said his pet rabbit scratched him while he was playing with it. I didn't think anything of it until about 3 days later when he got arrested, charged with the murder of a pregnant woman and her unborn baby. He partly dismembered her body to try and hide his tracks, and when he realized that wouldn't work, he then burned her house down with her body inside. That's when I realized those scratches were really from her fighting for her life. As far as I'm aware, he's still in prison. Opioid addiction patient would inject directly into open wounds in her biceps. And I'm not talking small wounds. Both her biceps were eaten away. There were literally thready bits of tissue that were inconvenient because they would get caught on stuff, so she cut them. She was in her mid-20s, but still had started using as a teenager with her mom. She would get bloodstream infections and heart infections and leave before finishing treatment. Oh, no. A guy knew he was getting fired, so he took a shit in the trash can in his cubicle. Nobody knew if he did it there or took it to the bathroom to shit in it, but he did it one way or another. He got called up to HR and was let go. Then the people working in his area started complaining about the poop smell, and sure enough, I found it in his little trash can. Then I called to ask him about it, and he said it was an old burrito, and he forgot to throw out. It was not an old burrito he forgot to throw out. There was this guy who lost a finger because he tried moving it with an industrial strength fan without turning it off first, and his finger slipped through the grate. Thankfully, I didn't see it, but I worked with a guy who got part of his finger taken off by an industrial mill. People were supposed to turn it off before cleaning it. But, well, we're talking about a company that didn't even have a safety shower or an eye wash station in the lab. Safety protocol were generally not followed. Seriously, I don't know how more people didn't get injured at that place. It's just a matter of time. They sent him to the lab area I worked in, while his nubbin healed enough for him to go back to manual labor. I craned an old grain bin that was cemented in the concrete slab it was on. The bird poo, feathers, and carcasses made a firm floor about 2 feet deep. Inside were about 15 pigeons who looked like they'd never seen the light of day. Some were too screwed up to fly or too young. One was pink, like bald, and absolutely the offspring of multi-generational incest. They were all fucked up. They couldn't possibly get out because the only place to escape was a cap at the top, which is impossible for a bird to fly vertically through without messing up their flight on the roof sheets. I'm guessing they survived off the grain left inside it and cannibalizing the dead. Most farmers, in my experience, air out the bins and leave ways for the birds to escape before we show up to do work. but that was probably the nastiest farmyard I've ever been in. There were 7 other bins just like it in a row. And that's the end of today's video. I hope you all enjoyed. Remember to like the video, do a little clicky, and subscribe to the channel. Turn on notifications so you can see future videos. And maybe leave a story or your thoughts in the comments below. Now, I will see you all next time. Hasta la pasta.